Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Joey Ambrosini, and I am here to tell you that I just finished being a guest on the Keith Andrew Network talk show. And big shout out to Keith. Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast talking about my time as an actor from where I started to where I am now. It's definitely been a hell of a journey, and I can't wait for people to watch it to hear what I had to say. Thanks so much, Keith. God bless.
No, the first question I want to ask you is tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Joey Ambrosini. I'm a Connecticut-based actor, currently 21 years old. I'm managed by DTLA Entertainment Group in Los Angeles, and my agency is Made Worldwide Agency in New York City. I've been acting for 5 years now, and I'm honored to be here right now.
No, the honor is all mine, and thank you for being with us.
Absolutely.
Now, for people who want to know real fast, just want to do a little plug. January 8th will be the 10-year anniversary of the Keith Andrew Network. If anyone wants to be a part of it, drop me a DM, but definitely talk to you about better off the air. But the next question I want to ask you is what attracted you to begin your career as a professional actor?
It goes a long way. When I was a little kid, I would always go to the movies with my folks. We would always see either a scary movie, a superhero film, and I remember after seeing the movie, I'd always want to buy the costume, and I'd like to dressing up around the house, dressing up for Halloween. I was always inspired by Christian Bale. I loved the Dark Knight movie, but acting itself was an escape from the real world for me. I felt I belonged to somewhere. I remember going back to when I was on my first ever movie set. I was background for a movie called The Vault with directed by Tom DeNucci, working opposite Theo Rossi from Sons of Anarchy, Samira Wiley from Orange is the New Black, Clive Standen from Vikings, and I would eventually advance to speaking roles, and doing short film projects of my own to keep myself busy, and I've loved it ever since I started.
No, that's how I feel about my talk show too. For 30 minutes, it's a step out of reality because with all the BS of politics and prices going up and things you can't control, that little pocket of time that you create, you should give yourself a little sense of happiness, of a little create your own situation where you know what, the hell was this person? This is my time, and this is people, go and sit and meditate. People go, they get high. I'm not saying go get high or anything, but people want to have a certain point in a day where you just want to feel this is my time, and it's what you want to do and open up. And for me, doing my talk show for the past 10 years, this is what I want to do to the day I'm 10 feet under. Now, let me rephrase that to how that's directed at you. When you started your career, you mentioned that you just want to have your own alone time. But do you also want this to be for the rest of your life? Do you want to be an actor for the rest of your life?
Totally, absolutely, absolutely.
And you mentioned the Batman franchise before. Now, a lot of people like to have this debate. Are you a fan of Michael Keaton or do you like Christian Bale?
Between the two, like you're asking which one I like better.
Yes,
Without question, Christian Bale.
thank you. I like Michael Keaton. He's a great actor. And I grew up watching Michael Keaton. But so it's something about I guess it's okay. First off, you're comparing apples to oranges because you're looking at 30 years ago. If we had what we had now, maybe movies in the 80s wouldn't have sucked, or maybe they would have been taken more seriously.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like he was great. No, Hans did nothing bad about Michael Keaton. He is Batman. But if you act, and I agree with you, Christian Bale comes number one, Michael Keaton's number two. Um, God rest his soul, Kevin Conroy will always be Batman in the cartoon universe.
Hmm.
Um, well, let me ask you this one, another fun one. When you think of trying to say with a straight face about who really thinks about the Joker, but just humor me. When you think about the Joker, not in that way, obviously, who comes to mind? Do you say, "Oh, the Joker, Mark Hamill," or
Heath
do
Ledger.
you absolutely? Well, for me, I'm like, it depends. Cartoon universe, hands down, Mark Hamill. But if you're talking about live action, Heath Ledger, the best Joker ever. Period.
Without question.
So the next question I want to ask you is, what is the biggest change you want to make in your acting career?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Wow, I don't think I've ever been asked that before. The biggest change. I guess you could say definitely just traveling around more. I feel that the majority of um, opportunities or gigs that I've pursued um, have all been based in Connecticut, Rhode Island. I've traveled to Rhode Island a few times for a couple films that I've done, and a lot of my work has been here in Connecticut. But I've always wanted to go to LA. I've never even been to LA before, not even like never seen it. Um, and it's definitely, but it's always been on my bucket list. I would definitely love to travel more.
Absolutely, me too. The only states I've been to, it's New York, obviously, born and raised, Connecticut, and I I guess you can consider New Jersey. I mean, I don't drive, but when I go with my parents to Jones Beach, we go through New Jersey. So kind of I've been to New Jersey, but not anything. I've been upstate. I've been Potsdam, Plattsburgh. All that. Canada, somewhere I really love to go. I love Toronto. LA, it is on my bucket list, but I'm gonna be honest, I am not a big fan of earthquakes. But with that being said, earthquakes, wildfires can happen anywhere, especially when you don't have rain. 2 days ago we had a fire alert. I was like, what the hell is a fire alert? And it's like, oh, you can get wildfires that splurt up when it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
Luckily, I mean, when we get an earthquake, it's kind of small. I
Mhm.
don't want to be on God's extra sketch board because a lot of people say I'm paranoid and I deal with anxiety. Well,
Yeah.
you don't want to see me with a full blown anxiety. And having to be with somewhere where there's an earthquake, it's kind of like watching the shit hit the fan. Like I'd be like, well, the joke about the cat spread eagle in the door, like, yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, here on the KeithAndrewNetwork, we like to have fun with everything. But let me ask you this. Let me ask you a guy question.
Okay.
Where are the most beautiful women? LA or New York?
Wow. Oh man. I I wouldn't know honestly. I haven't worked in either. I haven't worked in either. I mean, I've been to New York, but never for work. But um, I couldn't answer that question to be honest with you. I've never been to LA.
Well, I'm still single, so maybe if I move to LA, I get a girlfriend. So the next one I want to ask you is, what are some of your biggest career highlights?
Oh wow. I would definitely want to include the first time I've ever had a speaking part in a feature film. That's definitely something that's always going to have a special place in my heart. I played a kid named Perry for this horror film called Burial Ground Massacre, starring Michael Madsen, starring Chelsea Vale. Um, and I actually ended up returning for the sequel, which was called Damon's Revenge, which stars Tom Sizemore. May he rest in peace. I got to meet Tom on set when they were filming Damon's Revenge. He was the sweetest guy. It was definitely heartbreaking when I heard about his passing. But in the film also stars Robert Lasardo, Tommy Dreamer, Michael Madsen plays the voice of the killer again. Who else did they have? Tom DiNucci, of course, Chelsea Vale, Chris Whitcomb, and my friend Forrest Quellia, who I was really happy he got the part in that one too. I remember helping read the other lines for his audition. And I would definitely say another big move for me was probably this movie I did with Pooch Hall. It's one of my most recent projects that was just released called Alarmed, which is about two parents whose son was like a hacker, and they planned this weekend getaway, but without spoiling too much, things just go spiral when these masked men invade their home and sort of keep their son hostage. If I think that would make sense, it would be. It sounds kind of wild knowing that you would be kept hostage in your own home, but it was a really fun movie. Probably by far one of the best on-screen performances I perform. And we have a movie coming out on May 5th. It was already released in Australia and New Zealand. It's called Johnny and Clyde, starring Megan Fox. I had a very fun speaking part in that one, working opposite Robert Lasardo, Avon Jogia, Nick Principi, Johnny Russell, Charles W. Harris. Um, but that one was a really fun one. It was probably another one of my best performances by far.
Did he take a picture as Megan Fox?
No, I never got to meet Megan actually. So they took a big gap in between the filming process. Like the first half, like during the first half of filming, that's when Megan Fox was filming her stuff. The actors for Johnny and Clyde, Avon Jogia plays Johnny and Johnny Russell plays Clyde. But at the time when Megan Fox was on set, they were not even cast yet. I don't know, maybe if it was with Megan's scheduling, but no, I never got to meet her.
Well, it's on my bucket list, and I bet it's on yours. Next question I want to ask you is the big elephant in the room about the Keith Andrew Network. Besides me, obviously, yeah, I'm tuning my own horn. You have to be your own biggest cheerleader. With that being said, have you worked with people with disabilities? And are you willing to, well, let me rephrase that. Have you worked with people with disabilities and people who have disabilities that want to work with you? Will you be open to it?
Absolutely. I mean, at the same time, I don't think I've worked with people who have disabilities, whether I was a background actor with that person, whether I had a speaking part and that person was background. I'm actually doing a play right now with students for my school and stuff. But we all get along very well. But I don't think that anyone should ever feel that because they have a disability that it should make them feel that they can't do they can only do the minimum of things. I think anyone who would think otherwise is ridiculous. Anyone with disabilities, we're all still human beings. We all have dreams and we all have ability.
So, with that being said, do you think how comfortable are you teasing people?
What do you mean by that?
Like, how comfortable are you teasing people with disabilities? The things to do, the right things, the wrong. Well, obviously, they don't teach you. You're not going to teach someone to do it the wrong way, but teaching someone how to read lines. If someone who's never been on set before, hear the do's, do you hear the don'ts? You know, because you've done it before and I haven't. So, like for an example, if I asked you, uh, perfect example, if I wanted to work on set or be an extra,
Mhm.
what are the top five do's and don'ts that you would teach me?
If you were an extra,
Yes.
um, well, I don't think that, you having a disability would have anything to do with it. I don't think it would really change. I mean, I don't know how much I could teach you if someone was a background actor, um, other than, just have your ears open. Um, Never ever, and this goes for anybody, never ever give notes to another actor unless the director asks you to do so. Um, but if we were talking like, a person who wanted, um, who I were to help with a speaking character, I would tell them that the key of acting is, is what I've learned is the given circumstances, making choices, intentions, the who, what, when, where, why, um, and just being true, being in the moment. But, I don't think that, a person having a disability has anything to do with, learning. I think that if anybody is willing to learn, and if they're someplace for a reason, then they can do something with it.
No, you're right. And for an example, when you were first starting out, a lot of people say when you're a background actor, they might use you, they might not use you. You're standing around for
Yeah.
about 8 to 16 hours. Is that true or
Yeah.
what is
Oh yeah. It's very true. Like the first time I was ever on a movie set, they were like I was in the casino scene, so I was a casino patron. We were when I first got there, we were in a waiting room for a few hours. They were filming a scene prior to our scene, so they try to film as much as they can, try to get as much stuff out of the way. Um, but yeah, it's about perfection. Quality beats quickness when it comes to making movies. You know, um, I mean, if you don't if you're just gonna rush it, that just shows how much you really don't really care about the quality of the film. Um, but yeah, I've waited a long time, even whether I was just an extra speaking character. You're on set for a while. You're on set for a good 12 to 17 hour for a day or something. It always varies. It always varies. It depends on, what they have and, what the schedule was looking like when you're needed. But yeah, for the most part, you are on set for a while.
and that's why kind of was my show. If you watch it from the very beginning, it was really bad because we didn't have this in 2013. But 10 years later, you saw the process. Yeah, and people are probably like, oh, why did you wear those stupid glasses? But the truth is, and I said, I don't want to repeat this over and over. Reason for the glasses, I hide my eyes, and it gives me a confidence about myself, and my
That's great.
personality shows more. That's the main reason. The other one is I don't really want to stare at the camera. I like to stare at the guests that we have.
Mhm.
So instead of looking like I'm cross-eyed or make myself cross-eyed, one eye over here, one eye over there, it's better not to see my eyes to be like, yes, it is professional. I dress professional. I ask professional questions, but it's not about these filters. It's the fact that how you present yourself, and the same thing with you being an actor, being in the background. You dress, you act, and you give off positive energy. And when you do that, people are like, we like this person, and we know what to expect every time this person's around.
Yeah.
If you do things, and I'm guilty of this, so doing things half-ass, you don't know who you're going to walk into. You don't know who you're going to meet. I used to be a cashier, So you don't know who's online, who you're ringing up. So if you have the attitude of, I hate this job, I don't want to be here, later on, you're going to meet the same person later on. Like, why should I hire you if you're going to have an attitude?
Right.
So, like you said, do you agree with the first 10-second rule that you have the first 10 seconds to make a impression on somebody?
Sure. I guess you really like, it's always good to show up, whether you end up being used or not. It's always important to show up because, you're always guaranteed to meet people. You're guaranteed to see what's going on. Maybe you don't, maybe you're not going to have the whole day to talk to everybody, because things on set can get a little nerve-wracking and hectic, not just for the actors, but for the crew, whether it's a production assistant, whether it's a camera operator, whether it's a director, an assistant director, you know, your work when you're on set, you're working, but you can definitely make a lot of connections on set. I mean, there are people that I met who were other extras when I did Vault movie when I was an extra, and still to this day, I keep in touch with one of them, a good friend of mine named Michael Badajoe, who was one of the very first people I've ever met on a movie set, and still to this day, we still keep in touch. Um, Tom DiNucci being the first director that I've ever worked for, I got the speaking character in Johnny and Clyde, that which was a movie that Tommy also directed. So when you make a good impression on somebody, um, and you have a great amount of skill and passion, they're going to see that. They're going to see the potential in you, and that's always going to count.
I agree. Now, with the last 5 minutes, I'm going to pass it over to you. But my last question for you was I sorry, I just had a brain fart. The last question I want to ask you was no cards on my sleeves. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And where do you recommend it to anyone out there? Passing the show over to you.
Um, I just do it because this is something that I love. I mean, I think it's really cool that there are people out there who would like to interview people at my age. Young young people who want to break into a profession. Like kind of like when we were like when this interview first started and stuff. Like when I was growing up as a kid, um, and I grew up in a great town. I'm a town I've lived in for 15 years. Town I still live in to this very day, which is Monroe, Connecticut. But when I was a kid, people my age they had these bad habits. They wanted to party, they wanted to drink alcohol, they wanted to smoke marijuana, they wanted to do pills and everything. It's like, what future can you get out of that and stuff? And I think it's our job as young individuals to say that, we can do it, but we have to do it right. Like we can't waste our time doing all this stupid nonsense. If there is something that we are passionate about, we should do it. When it comes to a passion, don't ever speak hypothetically. Make it happen, because the only one putting you down is yourself. And I guess that, you know, I don't want to brag or anything. I'm not braggadocious whatsoever, but compared to the people that I look back that I've known growing up and stuff, I ask them, they'll ask, we'll catch up. They'll say, hey, so what's been new with you and stuff? How have you been? How's everything? And I'll say, I'm doing good, just keeping busy, going to school. I'm a theater major at Housatonic. And before we wrap, I do want to promote a show that I'm going to be in, but we'll get to that in a second. And, I go to school at Housatonic in Bridgeport. I would love to give a huge shout out to Jeff Sheehan for teaching me everything I've learned thus far. And you know, he's the reason that I would say I definitely know what I know now, like the given circumstance that I was mentioning. And I do work a day job. I work in retail at a grocery store in my state. So it's definitely a long game of acting, but no one is ever going to be a major star overnight. But it's good that we are still pursuing this dream. Like I've known so many people who said they wanted to do this, they wanted to do that, and they gave up because I don't think they understand how long of a game it is. Like they act like that you can just get it whenever you want, which hey, if you do, good for you. But we always have to earn our spot. It's always about paying your dues. No one is going to cast you. I'm also a little bit of a filmmaker myself. I like to make my own projects. I barely cast anybody that I have never seen act before. I mean, the look isn't everything. The look is
Yeah,
only maybe 5%, but yeah, when I was growing up as a kid, they always wanted to just party and goof around and stuff. What future do you have in that? It's about us showing to themselves that we have to make a move. And if you want to, if partying is what you want to do, okay, do it. I mean, who am I to tell you what to do? But 20 years from now, what are you gonna really doing with your life?
no, absolutely. Now, what's the last 2 minutes? Was there anything coming up on the horizon for you? You want to
Yeah,
promote? How can people get in
yeah,
touch with you?
absolutely, absolutely. So on April 27th, Housatonic Community College, we are going to be in a play called Rough Magic, which was written by the creator of a show called Riverdale named Roberto. I think I'm going to say I think I'm going to pronounce his name correctly. Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. I think I pronounced that correctly. But he was the creator of Riverdale, and he wrote this play called Rough Magic. I will be playing a very cool part in this called my character is Caliban, Caliban from the Tempest. It's kind of like of a multiverse type thing, the multiverse of Shakespeare, I guess you can call it. But it's going to be at Housatonic Community College from April 27th through April 29th. The show is free and open to the public, so I hope everyone can come down and check us all out. We have a great cast coming. Jeff Sheehan, the director. It's going to be a really good. It's really going to be a really fun time.
No, absolutely. With that being said, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But wrapping up, this interview will be shared on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and all social medias. Our goal is to reach 100 and more views for definitely do a part two. But our goal is to reach 100 views. But until we meet again, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. And I just want to say thank you for your time. And until we meet again, catch you later. Thank you and have a good night.